0% battery. But the call still came from 17 minutes after my death. I am Yoon Se-ra, 29 years old, RF optimization engineer for KT Telecom. 2 years ago, I buried my ex-boyfriend Min Jae-hyun in an empty coffin because his body had been burned beyond recognition in the rooftop fire at Hyundai Legacy. The only things left were his melted employee ID and a half-charred silver necklace engraved "Se-ra Forever." I didn't cry at the funeral. I sat in the company car, opened my laptop, and analyzed the station logs, trying to understand why the signal had vanished at the exact second he died. Reason is the only thing I still trust. This month, they sent me back to Busan. Hyundai Legacy, the old 20-story apartment block beside the port, had become the city's worst dead zone after the fire. September typhoon rain made 5G flicker like a dying flashlight. Residents were flooding the hotline. My phone shows 0% and is off, yet it keeps ringing. The elevator jams and I hear whispering inside the walls. The company doubled my pay and gave me apartment 1708 on the 17th floor, the exact unit Jae-hyun had rented before he moved to the technical room for night shifts. I dragged my suitcase into the elevator at 1942. The LED panel blinked, floors 13 to 14 under maintenance. The doors closed. The car shuddered once, then stopped dead between floors. Lights out. Only the cold green glow of the floor display remained. I pressed the emergency button. Silence. My phone still showed 51% in full bars. I called security. Han Do-kyun answered immediately. His voice was gravelly, the voice of a former military signal soldier. "Miss Se-ra, that stretch of elevator likes to play tricks. I'll be there in 4 minutes." When he pried the doors open, flashlight in hand, his face looked bloodless under the yellow beam. "You're in the old unit of Mr. Min, right? I know. He used to talk about you a lot." That first night, the rain hammered the windows like it wanted to break in. I sat on the bare floor of 1708 and fired up the spectrum analyzer. The signal here was unnaturally weak. RSSI, 118 dBm, multipath reflections going insane. Hundreds of ghost echoes bouncing inside the old concrete like invisible people screaming in every direction. I typed into the log. 2302, anomalous packet detected. Internal IP from floor 17, timestamp offset plus 17 minutes. My phone dropped to 9%. I plugged it in and went to shower. When I stepped out, the phone was completely dead. Screen black, 0%. I held the power button, nothing. Then it vibrated violently in my palm. An incoming call. Caller ID, unknown. IMEI matches my device 100%. I answered even though my brain was screaming not to. Jae-hyun's voice came through crystal clear, carrying the faint scent of his old cologne I thought I had forgotten. "Se-ra, do not get into the elevator at 2317 tonight. Please, baby. This time, don't." I dropped the phone. It clattered on the tiles. My heart felt like it would explode. Jae-hyun had been dead for 2 years. I checked again. The phone was still off, battery icon showing 0%. But the call history displayed, duration 051, incoming from self-future, plus 17 min, baseband crash logged. I forced a laugh and told myself I was overworked. But at 23:15, I had to go down to the basement to fetch the high-power meter. The elevator doors opened. I stepped in. At exactly 23:17, the car slammed to a halt between 13 and 14. Lights died. Metal groaned like something was clawing from the other side of the shaft. I called Do-kyun. He freed me 7 minutes later, sweating, eyes wide. Again, exactly the same time. "Did you hear anyone calling you?" I shook my head. That night, I slept with every light on. The second day, the storm grew worse. Wind howled through the window gaps. I walked the entire 17th floor corridor taking measurements. Every device suffered baseband crashes, even with full battery. At 21:44, my phone again plunged to 0% and shut down. The second call came. Jae-hyun's voice this time was layered, 2 voices speaking at once. At 23:34 tonight, the emergency stairwell on floor 15 will short circuit and catch fire. Do not run up to the roof, and do not trust the logs on your own phone, Se-ra. I recorded it and ran it through the spectrum analyzer. Primary layer, 181 Hz. Second layer, 223 Hz. Third layer, 307 Hz. 3 people talking simultaneously. I sent the file to Do-kyun. He replied instantly, "Come to the roof with me. I have a spare master key for the sealed technical room. They welded it shut after the fire, but I know how to get in." At 22:50, we stood on the rain-lashed rooftop. Inside the technical room, the smell of burnt plastic still lingered. Server racks were blackened, cables melted into plastic drips. Do-kyun pried open a steel cabinet and pulled out an old military-grade USB. This is what they hid: emergency human data compression. They tried to compress the neural data of victims into the 5G backbone to preserve information during the fire. Jaehyun was the lead operator. I plugged it in. The logs opened like fresh wounds. Every single call had originated from my own IMEI, but with timestamps exactly 17 minutes into the future. One entry read, "Se-ra will cut the main breaker at 23:34. Building-wide blackout. 7-year-old ventilator patient on floor 3 will die at 23:41. I sank to the cold concrete floor. Do-kyun knelt beside me, voice shaking. "Se-ra, in the army I measured ghost signals. But this isn't one ghost, it's a cluster. More than 20 victims compressed together into the network. They learned to read near-future traffic patterns, predicting jammed elevators, electrical fires, people falling from the roof. Every warning they send changes the future a little. Butterfly effect inside the wires." The third night, the air felt heavy enough to crush bones. At 23:05, my phone hit 0% again. The third call arrived. This time, the voice was a crowd. 4, 5, 6 overlapping layers, distorted like digital noise yet perfectly intelligible. "If you do not cut power soon, the elevator on floor 17 will free fall at 23:22. But if you cut, the lights on floor 3 go out. The little girl with cancer, her ventilator only has 8 minutes of backup power. We don't want this either, but the loop must end. Se-ra, you are the key." I ran into the hallway. Do-kyun was already waiting, cable cutters in hand. Our signal meters spiked, 5G strength suddenly 200% over limit even in the pouring rain, as if something was frantically pumping emergency data. At 23:17, the elevator jammed again. This time I heard a woman on floor 16 scream, "Someone is scratching from inside the wall." At 23:29, my dead phone lit up by itself. A new text appeared letter by letter as if being typed by invisible fingers. "Se-ra, I am no longer me. We are all the people who died that night. We only want the loop to stop. But every warning creates a new accident. If you cut the power, we disappear forever. If you don't, you will relive this night for eternity." Then the phone speaker spoke in my own voice, ice cold. "Cut it, Se-ra. Cut the station power. Do not save me. Do not save us. Do not save yourself." At 23:33, I stood in front of the main breaker on the roof, rain lashing my face, hair soaked. Do-kyun held the flashlight, voice cracking, "I trust you." But the little girl on floor 3, her mother is begging for the lights to stay on. I placed my hand on the switch. My heartbeat slowed, as though I were watching myself from outside my body. Click. The entire building plunged into darkness. The ventilator on floor 3 fell silent. A mother's wail tore through the storm. Then, absolute silence. No static. No vibration. No more calls. The next morning, power returned at 6:12. Not a single strange call had come since. My phone turned itself on showing 1% even though it had never been charged. A single unsent message glowed on the screen, letters forming slowly. "If you can, please don't save me." I deleted it. It reappeared. I deleted it again. On the third try, a smaller line appeared underneath. "Next time, you will be the one inside the elevator." I packed my bags and booked the 14 train out of Busan. When I stepped into the elevator on floor 17, the phone vibrated softly. Signal bars, 0101. The screen showed an incoming call. Number, unknown. IMEI, mine. Timestamp, plus 17 minutes. Clock on the wall, 23:17. I haven't pressed answer yet. The elevator began to descend. I'm still standing on floor 17. The rain is still falling against the glass. And from inside my coat pocket, my own voice whispers, small but perfectly clear. "This time, don't cut the power, Se-ra. I am still listening. And I know I will keep listening."